Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got weather, whether or not.
Get the COVID-19 vaccine!
Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, wherever there's weather, this is weather we got.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 5 of the Comedeorological Report. I'm Dr. Joey Only up here in Wells, British Columbia, up high in the Cariboo Mountains. We have with us our stars of the show, Dylan ATACK in Hamilton, Ontario, Frankie MacDonald in Sidney, Nova Scotia, and tonight's special guest, Paul Gott, old friend from Montreal, Quebec. So, hey, Frankie, where do you want to start this week, BC or Nova Scotia?
Starting in BC, it's going to be Arctic flow in British Columbia and Alberta. It's going to be extremely cold in Saskatchewan, Alberta. It's going to be extremely cold coming from the Arctic. It's going to hit Vancouver, Victoria. It might bring some snow in Vancouver and even Victoria, British Columbia. And Ontario is going to bring really cold temperatures. Montreal start getting colder, especially with wind chill. It's going to get much colder in Montreal where Base Guy Show lives.
So, Paul Gott, you used to be a weather forecaster for GlobalTV.
Yep.
So what's your take on the weather right now, Montreal?
It's friggin' cold, but that's okay. You know, it's Montreal. We're used to it. We got the Northwesters. We got the Southeasters. We're blaming the U.S. for most of the stuff we get nowadays because they always blame us for all the stuff that happens to them in the north. But it's all coming up the coast nowadays, so we're just hating the coast.
Because the cold air is going all the way down Texas, and cold air might even reach Mexico City.
Yeah, I'm going to blame BC for our weather, actually. It goes down the coast, somehow goes across the states, comes back up, and hits us here in Montreal. So it's
Then it goes
BC's
back
fault.
to Morocco after that.
Yeah.
It goes to Libya.
It's true. It's true. What do you think, Paul? Like, so your life as a touring musician, how do you think that sort of helped you understand the weather? Because you went across Canada so many times over 30 years.
Yeah, well, I think what we did is we actually got smart after a few years and we stopped going in the wintertime because once you've changed a tire when it was minus 40 degrees in Windsor, Ontario, you just kind of go, yeah, we're not going to do that again. And we drove across a couple of times in winter weather, and it was like you discover that any van that you have always has a hole in it somewhere that you haven't sealed. And so, like, you're okay in the front. So, as a driver, you know, I must say I was doing okay. But in the back, you've got Punxatawnies because, like, they're just, like, freezing their asses off. And eventually, we actually we had a bed that we built in the back, which is supposedly for us when we weren't on the road, because it might have been slightly illegal to be sitting on that thing or sleeping on that thing while we were driving. But that was the only place it was warm in the back. So all the rhythm section got really close and tight, on tour because they were cuddled up on the friggin' bench. So yeah, we don't do that no more. So that was our big discovery: is it's friggin' cold in Canada.
As we move across Canada, we have we have our Comedeorological reports, of course. And this week we got, again, Washboard Hank, a musician himself who's been across Canada many, many times and seen it all himself. Washboard Hank in Peterborough, Ontario.
Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, we got weather, whether or not. Stay on the weather. Go get him. There's a half-a-lump. A half-a-lump. Get the half-a-lump. Oh, yes. Here we are. Look. She's Murdy the Mert, the old pile of dirt. She stops and she squats and she squats and she squirts. She squats and she squirts and raises her tail and leaves all the doggies her daily pee mail. Yes.
Right on, Washboard Hank. Thanks for that. I'm a big fan of you. We also have down in New York, we have our first American cometeorologist. He's actually a comedian. So we have Uriah Wesman here, and check this out.
I'm a comedian, and I'm pretty sure I exist, and you wanted some weather jokes, and I badly need attention. So here you go. My mom is like climate change. She doesn't exist. We got a warm weather system moving in. Nope, that's just an anti-lockdown protest. A weatherman is like a cult leader. He's wrong just enough to be right. And here we go, last one. Thanks for holding in there. Your problems are like the weather. It follows you everywhere, and it's God's fault. Oh, fantastic. Can I have my $5 now?
Hamilton, Ontario. Dylan ATACK, how's the weather in Hamilton, Ontario this week? What have you been up to?
Good to see you, Joey. Not much, it's been really chilly here, like same as in Montreal, really chilly. I need a cup of hot chocolate right now, so someone grab me a hot chocolate, but it's really cold.
I recommend green tea. It's much better than hot chocolate. Green tea, white tea, and red tea.
I'd like to weigh in here and say that nothing is better than hot chocolate.
Green tea is better.
Just hesitating to. I'm just saying, in the anarchist world we live in, hot chocolate is the best thing.
Green
ever.
tea. I choose green tea.
And Frankie likes green tea.
Yeah, I think he likes.
We have a Comedeorological report this week from Winnipeg. Actually, my friend Joanna Miller, who is the most savage Angry Birds player. I know that you spend money at the token store. You can't be that good. No one's that good. Joanna Miller, she's got a cup of boiling water, and she's going to throw it in the air and show you what happens. So what happens at minus 36? The hot water will turn to snow, right? So she must be just 2 degrees below that or something like that, because most of it does turn to snow. Check this out, Joanna Miller.
In Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's how cold it is.
This is my Cross Canada map I got. One of those old-fashioned ones that you've seen in your school is for sale in Quesnel at the thrift store. And I'm sure it's still there. I'm going to grab it and set it up for my backdrop for our Cross Canada reports, right? Speaking of punk rock and Cross Canada reports, Mr. Awesome, you've played with Mr. Awesome before. That's Roy Robbins from the Hypocrites.
Holy crap. Okay, I did not, I remember the Hypocrites many a time as we played a bunch of shows with them. Always were happy to do it. Loved, let me play, what was the Ye Old Skinning Shack?
That was, on his dad's property. I was the last person to ever play that. The cops shut the show down. Then we went to Phil's and had a righteous party after. But Mr. Awesome, he's been sober for a bunch of years now, and he's been a big inspiration for me. So here's Roy Robbins, Mr. Awesome, out in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Hey, Roy Robbins here. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It's minus 32. I think with a wind chill, like minus 39. I haven't got a fucking brain freeze on that. Minus 32.
Another Comedeorological report. We're moving across the country now. We have in the Rocky Mountains our let's check in with Uriah Shanko, our avalanche reporter. Oh, Yuri, always getting yourself into trouble. But seriously, it's pretty dangerous out there in the backcountry right now. That slope that avalanche was triggered on wasn't much different than the one that everyone snowmobiles here at Groundhog and Wells. So we don't have here in Wells. What happened with Groundhog Day? You guys hear about it?
Groundhog is a hoax, but Groundhog is not true. That means even Groundhog doesn't see a shadow. Winter lasts longer because it's unpredictable these days. Because a Groundhog is a hoax.
Well, all I know is I don't know about the groundhogs, but the squirrels are eating through the ceilings of all the houses on my road, so it's getting really cold. So we're actually kind of hoping the groundhogs will come and eat them all, but it hasn't worked for us yet.
So, did you hear Dylan, Punxsutawney Phil? What's he saying?
But Phil, yes, I did. I heard that he didn't see a shadow. So we'll see what happens if we have 6 more weeks of winter or not. But I'm predicting more cold weather.
Well, we laugh at that in Wells because the snow usually doesn't come off the lake here, or the ice doesn't come off the lake, the Jacket Club's lake, Mother's Day is often the target. I've seen it go to the end of May. There'll still be ice floating out there. Here at 4,000 feet up in the Cariboo Mountains, 6 weeks. So we have our own. We have we don't have Punxatawny Phil. We don't pay attention to him. We have Punxatawny Panda.
Yeah. Oh. Holy shit.
Holy shit, he says. And then also we have today our weather reports from Willow and Waylon. Willow and Waylon's weather reports.
And it was even sunnier that day up in the mountains. All right, let's talk about the cold.
It's an extreme cold warning in northern BC. Wind chill can be minus 40 to 50 in the Cassiar Mountains. Extreme cold in the Peace. The coldest place in BC is Dawson Creek.
How cold is it in Dawson Creek?
Minus 39.
Wow!
Minus 39.
Ho!
Minus 39. Special weather statement for all in British Columbia.
So down in Winlaw BC, we got Father Paul Erven, my good friend and country singer, Father Paul Erven.
Hey, Joy Only. It's sunnier than a goat's ass down here in Winlaw.
It's colder than a cow's cock up here, Paul. That's and then our last Comedeorologist is Dan Loewen, my friend in Kelowna BC. He's a great guitar player. And here we go, Dan Loewen.
So this year cold snap is working out pretty good here in Kelowna. We got pretty much no snow on the ground and a full sun in the sky. I think it's like 6 or 7 degrees out here. I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah. My bong hasn't melted, or it hasn't frozen in like 4 or 5 days. So this year cold snap is working out pretty good.
My advice to you, Dan, is you think you're going to escape this cold. Same with you, Paul, but it's coming your way. It might be not till Tuesday or so that you get it, but it's coming. Put your bong inside the house. It's going to freeze.
That's what my mom always told me. So there you go.
Done with the Comedeorological report. So let's get on to talking. Paul, you notice I'm wearing the Punk Rock Nation shirt tonight?
I like that one. Yeah. I know. I like the fact that it's still holding together. I think that's either that means that you just pull it out for special occasions, or we actually got some decent quality merch for once.
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's at that. It's been long past that point where it stinks too much because I played so many gigs myself wearing it, and you know what happens when you wear a T-shirt all gig long, and you do it many times over the course of years. This shirt, it quickly stinks. Like you put it on, and like the first touch of sweat. It's first tell us about your stint as a weatherman, how that happened. And
well, in Montreal, I actually used to work for CBC and CTV, and then when Global opened up a station here, they were they hired me on, and so I was producing the news. But at the same time, they didn't hire a weather person. When they were first starting up, they were looking for one. So I kind of said, well, look, I'll do it. And I had like absolutely no training and no knowledge and no nothing except for, my inevitable fashion sense, Yeah,
so, you sort of resemble Colonel Kurtz, so people are going to take you seriously.
Yeah, exactly. So I would do my weather forecast based on the footwear of the anchor at the time. So whatever she was wearing, I'd sort of figure out, if she was wearing the open-toed sandals, I knew it was a nice warm day. And I'd have to come up with a 2-minute weather forecast based on that. I was like stuck in this in the station. I was like doing all these forecasts, but it was fun. They put me on the roof, and then so I'd not only have the prediction from the footwear, but I would have the actual weather that I would have to sort of take a look on the horizon and say, hey, look, blue sky. So I think I did okay for a while. And then, then they sort of, we went on air and for real. And about a week later, they went, okay, that's it. I think we need somebody who actually knows what they're doing. So I'm back to doing the news.
You're teaching at university right now?
Yeah, well, I got me 3 jobs. So that's one of them. I teach journalism. So I've got all my students handing in their first big assignments. So starting at 9:00 tomorrow morning, I have 61 students' work to look over. So all those students have been complaining to me about, hey, that's a lot of work. I go, well, I got to mark all that friggin' work, and there's 61 of you. There's only one of you for each of you. So yeah, I'm kind of having a lot of fun with that. I like to think of it as fucking up a whole new generation of journalists. It's good.
What are the other jobs then? Spit it out. Spill it.
Oh, what else do I do? Wait a second. I produce a show for a news magazine in Montreal called CityLife. So all about Montreal. It's the only English language news magazine on the air in Montreal. So get about 60,000 people watching. So it's pretty good. I get to, my third job is I'm a political commentator. So I go on radio and television and I espouse my slightly left-wing, well, maybe more than slightly left-wing views. Bring a little anarchy to the airwaves, which is always kind of fun. And it's kind of been fun because I've been a journalist for like 40 years and it's the first time somebody's ever allowed me to be opinionated. So I get really opinionated.
You finally got to earn that, eh?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like if you want that whole punk rock perspective on life, I like to bring it in, and I hope you brought enough for everybody in that kitchen because, like, we're all looking here.
Josh got the camera. It's a little too high. You can't even quite see what I got here. Here's some mushrooms, a bit of onions, and some peppers. Toss that in.
Nice
sausages. Big sausages. I don't have time with driving the kids back and forth on Sunday and getting the show ready to actually ever sit down and eat.
When you say kids, are you talking about the weather forecasters or?
My tiny little children there, yeah. Willow and Waylon. So.
I'm enjoying.
And they go from here to Quesnel is a 2-hour trip plus, and then you got the roads and the weather and all that. So I just decided, as often as I can, cooking and eating will be part of my show.
Well, I was saying before, I really like the fact that your backdrop there, you look like you live in a cafe, and that's kind of what I wanted to do when I grew up. So
it's sort of a morbid one with like hands and things like that kind of nearby. And
well, you never know when you might need a hand in the kitchen.
Here's a pro tip. During Halloween, go to the dollar stores and buy yourself for $1.25 each, 15 of these rats. And then what you do is you place them in mice traffic areas of your house, and it's more effective than cats. They won't go. So I had when the winter settles in here, all the mice from outside are like, uh-oh, long subalpine winter here in the north. And they try to take over your house. There's this like battle at the beginning, and if you can kill them at the beginning or drive them out, so we got the cat who was just fantastic, and then we had rats set up so that they were so scared to even come near the areas where the food was, because every time they got to an area where they might have an advantage or see something good.
That's funny because I had that exact same rat in our tour van for a while. And then we made the mistake of touring the States once and leaving it on the dashboard of the van and driving through the Mojave Desert. And then we had melted rat on the front of the van. It literally sort of came into a big puddle and just went down over the radio and covered all the stuff there. So yeah, that was good. But I have like 5 of those rats myself at home, but I didn't realize they had actually practical applications. I just got them on shelves.
They do that indeed. Well, you notice those shelves never have mice on them. So,
sure. I was about to say it never had a mouse problem. Now I know why.
What's it like? What was it like getting to work for Global?
Well, it was kind of funny because I was kind of like getting into the media, but while we were always touring back in the 90s, we were always on the road. So I remember that I had an interview to do with the head of Global, with the executive producer, as they were setting it up. And I remember we actually had to pull over in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Saskatchewan, when we were in the middle of tour. And this like dusty little gas station, like Corner Gas, is at not nearly as classy as that. And there's a payphone, and I got on the payphone, and I'm like talking, and there's, for some reason, there's all these army vehicles like rolling by on this dusty little road in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like doing this interview to be on to get a job at Global, and I could barely hear, and I go, I'm sorry, there's a tank going by, I can't hear what you're saying, you know. I'm on tour, I'm trying to describe them the gas station. I think they were so entertained by the circumstance of my interview that they actually hired me just for that alone. So well, punk rock.
Well, you'd think you want to find someone who's going to work for the news, and you call someone who's like, well, nothing going on here. Well, you know.
Well, the funny thing was, you know, I kind of like, I look like me. I always looked like me. That was always my negotiation, was like, it wasn't vacation or it wasn't salary. It was just no dress code. So I never expected to get into television, but I started out volunteering and putting out magazines and doing all sorts of stuff for community groups. And so I actually worked for probably like 10, 15 years, doing mostly volunteer work and, you know, all this crap on the side to earn money. So by the time I got around to actually applying for a real job, you know, they kind of went, are you sure you want to do this? Because your life is so much more exciting than what you'll end up doing in this television station. And I went, oh, actually, yeah, I must admit, I kind of like, it would be nice to know that I had money for more than next month's rent, or hoping to have money for next month's rent. So like, I think I'm prepared to actually be a little bored and working the news. And then like one of the first things I did when I worked in the news was cover the biker gang wars in Montreal, and some kid who was driving by on a bicycle and got blown up by a Hells Angels bomb on the side of the road. So I don't think life was that boring in television. It depends on how you look at stuff. You go into a television newsroom and everybody kind of looks the same, and they hang out in the same bars and they live in the same neighborhoods. So there was me, you know, kind of looking really out of sorts. And I would try to like tone down the look a little bit when I first got into the station. But what happened is like a couple of months after I got there, there was a squeegee punk riot on Saint Laurent Boulevard. Long story on that one. But they wanted to send the reporters out, but all the reporters were scared of the punks. And there had been a riot. So they went, okay. They looked at me and they went, okay, we know that you're not dressing the way you do normally. Go home, get dressed the way you are, and go out with the reporter. So I was kind of like I was the bodyguard for the reporter. So I actually got to start dressing exactly the way I do now. And I just went out, and, you know, and then people were talking to me because everybody knew me. And I actually remember coming back to the station, and the reporter was like, okay, we got to do this thing. And there's these punks out there, and they did this and they did that, or, you know, and they go on, you know, and they were known as Les Squeegee in Montreal. That was before they sort of fanned out across the country. And so they were like, so what do we call them? And I actually remember saying, hey, you should call them squeegee punks. And the guy went, we can't call them punks. You know, that's an insult. I go, no, look, take my word for it. If you call them squeegee punks, they'll be happy. They are all punks. We are all punks. It's cool. So I believe that I actually added squeegee punk to the lexicon. So there's my big contribution to the world of punk rock is I came up with the term squeegee punk.
Is that a squeegee in your pocket, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. We started using it in all our songs and stuff. And for some reason we called our song Squeegee Kids back then, but yeah, no, it's just kind of, it was kind of interesting. And then, so anytime anything out of the ordinary happened, I get to do it. And I brought in all this knowledge that they didn't have. So I became kind of invaluable for, they didn't even know that there was this truck going around downtown for Dans la Rue, which helped all the homeless kids, and that there were refuges out there, and that there were things that, you know, at the time it was like all skinheads are bad. And so it's like, no, not all skinheads are bad. The Nazi skinheads are bad. We don't even call them Nazi skinheads. We call them boneheads, you know. they needed a lot of knowledge that they didn't have, and it was kind of fun to be what was basic punk rock knowledge was like just went right by them, and so it's kind of like nice to be the font of information and knowledge there.
Way outside their experience. I was actually with a bunch of the Punk Fest kids squeegee in 1999 in August when it became illegal in Ontario and they started the new squeegee crackdown. But I also and then I was part of the IWW Squeegee Council in Vancouver with Stefan Blay and them. So including one episode where we marched into City Hall and interrupted a city council meeting with myself singing a wobbly song and the squeegee kids all passing out pamphlets to all the city councilors and staff and stuff, right? That basically said what our cause was and why the kids were getting harassed in the streets and what it's like to live in the streets, whatever. It was a pretty sweet pamphlet that they had set up, right? So.
Ah, cool.
We walked in the door, and I had the guitar strung over, and just, we let them have it. And they were kind of entertained, I think, because they all knew who I was, right? So they were all sitting there just waiting us out and kind of smiling. But
yeah, it seemed to have faded away, squeegee punks, but they're starting to make a bit of a comeback in Montreal, so we can always hope. How many shows the Ripcordz play? Like when I first seen you 26 years ago playing, I think by then you'd already done over 1,000 shows or something crazy. So yeah, we kind of, it's hard to figure because for a decade there, we were playing about 100 a year. But we haven't been doing that. We're down to a couple of dozen. We didn't play a lot last year, I must say. But I think we're probably in, I estimated at 3,000 at one point in time, but I think I might have overestimated. I think we're probably starting to approach 3,000, but no friggin' idea. We just play a lot.
That means that once I go on the world tour, I'll be seeing you in person. I'll be dancing on stage, doing comedy skits, and I'll be giving those speeches about my weather reports and my past weather reports and my early YouTube days and things like that.
Tell them to get the COVID-19 vaccine.
Get the COVID-19 vaccine!
I want every single person in the world to get the COVID-19 vaccines as fast as it could, as soon as it can. Everyone get the COVID-19 vaccine as fast as it could and as soon as it can.
Yep.
Well, don't wait. Do it now.
We got about four or five shows that we're supposed to play in like the 4 or 5 days after clubs open up, because everybody says, okay, as soon as everything opens up, you guys are ready to go. And I must admit, when we first
hey Joe, I remember that when I was at the Capri on February 29th, 2020 at the Capri Club, the few guys in a band all the way from British Columbia traveled all the way to Sidney, Nova Scotia to play at the Capri Club. Once they finished, they left the Capri Club right away.
Who were they?
Those men. I don't remember. I saw them. They left Capri right away before nightclub takes over on February 29th, 2020, a few weeks before COVID pandemic lockdown. Those guys were darn lucky. They traveled all the way from British Columbia to Sidney, Nova Scotia, just to perform on stage at the Capri.
Wow.
Before I forget, let's take a screenshot. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheese.
Awesome.
I'm getting a book and
a book now too, and a bobblehead. All right, everyone say cheese. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheese.
Awesome.
That's okay. I did my terrifying smile instead, so that was what's up for it.
For you, Bill,
I did three new videos today about the major earthquake that happened sometime this year. One for Indonesia, one for Japan, one for the Philippines. All uploaded to my YouTube channel.
And this week we got country singer Brett Castle coming on our show.
That was last Monday.
How'd that interview go? I never really talked to you guys. I never heard from you guys how the interview went.
It went really good. And that's going to be on this Thursday's episode.
Cable14.com.
Yep.
Cable14.com, 6 p.m. and on live TV if you're in Hamilton, Ontario.
3 p.m. Pacific.
We're actually working on a video for our new album, the one that we very cleverly put out just as the pandemic hit. So we haven't been able to play any shows for it, but where we've got kind of our video that we shot, and it's kind of a post-apocalyptic video. And what's really funny is we sort of, when you walk around Montreal, it's amazing how many places in Montreal look like the post-apocalyptic background. So we got like lots of Montreal on this one, and it looks like Montreal will look like in 500 or 600 years after the rats do take over. So it's kind of
I know so often because I worked so many years in the downtown east side.
Yeah.
So often I'm watching apocalypse movies, and I'm like, I know that place.
We also have our own built-in sort of place, punk place, Fatale, where there's the club trackside is kind of hanging out, and where all the punk bands come nowadays, and it's a fun place, and hundreds of punks living along the railroad tracks in places that used to be sort of offloading places for trains, and with no fixed address and graffiti up for 4 stories worth of graffiti. It's it looks exactly like this place will look like in 60 or 70 years.
I was on the Zoom call last night for the Jenna Trulow's memorial, and got to see lots of old Spiderland faces, and it was pretty neat. There was like 60 people on the chat room at one point. But it was really great. They had different chat rooms set up, so I got to go. You could just kind of get out of the big group and talk to a couple of friends one-on-one. So I talked to Jay and Miles from Knife Hammer and good old friends, and it was just a really, really good to hear so much about Jenna on her life, but see so many faces too. And I just hope we can do more of that kind of thing and more of this kind of thing, because I find making these shows, and I got to thank everybody in my weather group for putting out money for all this production equipment that's coming our way, this new laptop. So thank you so much for donating. Please keep donating. I hate being that guy who says that.
I want to say,
once I go on the world tour, I'll be going to every country in the world. I'll be performing on stage. I'll need a lot of guys. I'll need crew members and things like that. Professional camera crew, video camera crew, soundboard guys and things like that. I'll need a PR manager and things like that.
and I want to say, keep being positive through these challenging times. And shows like Joey's are awesome. Keep subscribing to his YouTube channel. Keep watching his shows because they are awesome. We're glad to be a part of it.
Well, I'd just like to kind of say that, everybody always talks about the past as being the golden age of punk rock. And I keep on telling people that the golden age of punk rock is now. And the reason that it's now is because there's more bands and there's more music and there's more things happening than ever before, and more ways to discover things. And the one thing that's been going on recently is, we got the friggin' pandemic, but it's forced us all to do things like this. It's forced us all to come up with ideas on how to communicate and how to get our music out and how to get information out and how to talk to each other. And it's kind of really cool thing that, once the pandemic is over, and we get to go out and sunbathe again.
We'll still have this infrastructure that we built,
and we'll still have the Joey only show going on, and there'll be ways for us to keep on going and keep communicating. And I think it's kind of cool that we've been forced into these things and to discover new ways to sort of get this stuff out. So,
amen to that.
Golden age of punk rock, there, folks.
Hey, Joey, one day you'll probably perform at the Steel City in Sydney, Nova Scotia, or the Old Triangle in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And Joey, you'll probably perform at Daniels or Dooley's in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Right on. My first time I ever seen the Ripcordz was 1995. Spider took myself and a couple kids out to Wooler, to small town Wooler, and I was just blown away. I was just blown away. I know I've told you about this before, but I was looking at your merch table and you had the cassettes out, and for I only had $3.25, and I said to the merch guy, I also have half a pack of smokes, and he says, well, Paul doesn't smoke. But then you walked by at that moment, and he turned and said something to you, and you said, you can keep the smokes. And he handed me the cassette tape, and I listened to Canadian as Fuck until it fell apart. I love that album so much. And the Bandcamp cuts me off every once in a while and tells me I have to pay for it. And I said, I already have twice.
It's only a minute left.
A minute to go. All right. I guess that's the show. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being on the
I'm Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to Joey Ollie Internet Radio Podcast.
Well, nice sharing the airways with y'all. It's been fun. I hope to do it again, and hope I'll have some weather forecasts for you in the future.
Yeah,
see you next Sunday, Joey. I will see you next Sunday on Zoom.
Sounds good. All right. Good night now.
All right, thanks for having me.
Or good morning.